carried. Okay, so during closed, as per section 2B, subject matter about an identifiable individual is discussed, including municipal employees, 2392F, advice of a solicitor client privilege, including communications for that purpose, and 2392G, a matter in respect of which a council, board, or committee, or other body may hold a closed meeting under another act or recommendations from the investigative committee. And the next thing on our agenda is the Integrity Commissioner's reporting on two items. At this point in time, I'll hand it over to Peggy.
Before she begins, Sheldon, may I just? Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Hello? I'm sorry, I was hearing you folks. It was clear you weren't hearing me, so I apologize. I phoned back in.
Okay. Okay.
So can you, it kept going on something about being muted, that the meeting was muted.
Okay, so I think it's okay now, but.
It was
Okay,
muted
fair enough.
during the close.
Pardon me?
It was muted during the close.
Okay, again, I did what you asked. I didn't, like, I just stayed on the line, and I just got some random that my phone was muted, then the meeting was muted, then I could hear you guys couldn't hear me. It was, so I just called back in. So I apologize for the delay. I'm here now. I just wanted to let you know I am listening.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll now go down to item 5, Integrity Commissioner reporting, and it's all yours, Peggy.
Okay, so thank you, Your Worship and members of council. This evening I have 3 specific reports that I'm going to be reading, and they're not.
Just in case, I know the owl wasn't picking it up.
It's not picking that up very well, yes, I know, and I hope people don't think I'm yelling, because I'm trying to talk loud enough so people can hear. So anyways, this evening, the very first report I'm going to be reading is the Integrity Commissioner Inquiry Report regarding allegations that Councillor Buderick did contravene the code of conduct. Ephraim, as Integrity Commissioner, received a request for inquiry with respect to Councillor Buderick, and the requester alleged that Councillor Buderick contravened the Township of Brunel, Lindock and Raglan Code of Conduct and or the council staff relations policy. And throughout the report, I'll call it the CSR policy. The requester is a member of the public and therefore entitled to make an application for inquiry under sections 223.4 of the Municipal Act. In the request, the requester alleged that Councillor Buderick contravened the code of conduct when she, by her actions towards acting clerk treasurer Valerie Jan, former clerk treasurer Michelle Mantipole, deputy clerk Virginia, and I apologize, I'm not going to say your name correctly, Pannenauer. Facilities manager and fire chief Jordan Jenerick, and Charlie Bem, road superintendent, collectively BLR employees on a number of occasions contravening the CSR and the code of conduct, and by her actions toward BLR employees on a number of occasions contravening the Occupational Health and Safety Act. After receiving the request, we followed the inquiry process set out in the Integrity Commissioner Inquiry Protocol. We did a preliminary review of each of the allegations to determine if they were within the jurisdiction of the Integrity Commissioner. Those matters not within the Integrity Commissioner's jurisdiction are referred to be considered in by other appropriate parties. Allegations that a member of council contravened the OHSA are not within the jurisdiction of the Integrity Commissioner, have not been investigated by our office, and have been properly referred to the appropriate authority. However, failure to comply with the legislation, and in this circumstance, specifically the Occupational Safety Act, does constitute a contravention of the code of conduct. 11 of the allegations received by our office were referred to be investigated under the OHSA. In this circumstance, the allegations were brought before council, and our inquiry was suspended until the OHSA investigation. Something's disconnected. Just I can hear. I can admit the people. Okay. So our inquiry was suspended until the Occupational Health and Safety Act investigation was complete. This report is to advise council that we are aware that the OHSA matter is complete and our inquiry will be recommenced. Additionally, we are advising council that while we are aware of the Occupational Health and Safety Act investigation, we cannot report details, but it is clear that Councillor Buderick was found to breach the OHSA and her conduct was extremely offensive. Investigations of this nature and the detailed findings are statutorily confidential. It is difficult for us to reconcile this statutory requirement for confidentiality and our duty to provide a public report to ratepayers and council. However, Councillor Buderick has shown not only disregard for the ethical responsibilities in the code of conduct, but egregious and flagrant disregard for serious legislation like the OHSA. She has contravened the code of conduct. Upon finding a breach of the code of conduct, section 223.4 sub 5 of the Municipal Act 2001 permits council to levy a penalty of either a paid reprimand or a suspension of the remuneration paid to the member in respect of their services as a member of council for a period of up to 90 days for each breach. This is the second Integrity Commissioner inquiry related to the actions of Councillor Buderick, wherein she was found to have contravened the code of conduct by acting contrary to provincial legislation. We are most concerned that this behavior must stop. It is destructive to the operation of the BLR and is poisoning the work environment for staff and is diverting valuable taxpayer resources from providing appropriate service. We very strongly recommend that council request that Councillor Buderick resign her position on council. It is clear that she does not act appropriately and within her role as a councillor. It is our opinion that her behavior will be ongoing and will place BLR and perhaps Councillor Buderick personally at considerable risk of litigation. Alternatively, should council not wish to take such action, or should Councillor Buderick refuse to resign, council should strictly impose that Councillor Buderick be removed from all boards and committees, not be allowed to communicate with staff directly, that all communications to staff go through an anonymized email address, that I not be allowed to attend the municipal office or municipal work sites where staff may be except for retrieving council mail and packages, making bill payments, attend council meetings or otherwise fulfilling her statutory roles, and be able to request the restrictions be reviewed in 6 months. We further recommend that council consider conducting a workplace culture audit and prepare a wellness workplace improvement strategy in order to acknowledge the considerable impact on staff and to create a healthier work environment. And that is the end of my first report. Your worship. I don't want to interrupt. Would you like me to read the rest and then deal with the recommendations, or do you want to do them individually?
Council, how would you like to do?
Sorry, I missed. I was asking if you would like me to read the rest of the reports and deal with recommendations all at once. Or did you want to deal with recommendations this evening? Or are you going to defer your decision? Because I'm happy to just continue.
I think we can continue to report the next one. I'm almost thinking the allegations will be the same. Correct.
Okay, so this report is related to an Integrity Commissioner inquiry regarding Councillor Lidke and the contravention of the Code of Conduct. And similarly to the one that was just read about Councillor Buderick, this was made, the request was made by a member. I apologize, there's a little fly that's flying around here, getting into my eye. The requester is a member of the public and therefore entitled to make an application for an inquiry under section 223.4 of the Act. And in the request, the requester alleged that Councillor Lidke contravened the code of conduct when he, by his actions toward acting clerk treasurer Valerie John, former clerk treasurer Michelle Mansfield, and the same employees, I'm not going to read them all again. By his actions, on a number of occasions contributed to CSR and the code of conduct. By his actions toward BLR employees on a number of occasions contributing to the Occupational Health and Safety Act. After receiving the request, we followed the same as we did before, and we reviewed each allegation, and those that were not within the jurisdiction of the Integrity Commissioner were forwarded on. as allegations that a member of council had contributed to the OHSA and the OHRC are not within the jurisdiction of the Integrity Commissioner, have not been investigated by our office, and have been referred to the appropriate authority. However, failure to comply with legislation, and in this circumstance specifically, the OHSA and the OHRC does constitute a contravention of the Code of Conduct. 13 of the allegations received by our office were referred to be investigated under the OHSA. In this circumstance, the allegations were brought before council and our inquiry was suspended until the OHSA investigation was complete. This report, again, is to advise council that we are aware that the matter is complete and our inquiry will be recommenced. Additionally, we are advising council that while we are aware of the OHSA investigation, we cannot report details. But Councillor Lidke was found to have breached the OHSA and the Ontario Human Rights Code. His conduct was extremely appalling, and investigations of this nature and the detailed findings are statutorily confidential. Again, it is difficult for us to reconcile our duty to keep it confidential as well as to provide counsel and public with an appropriate report. Councillor Lidke has shown not only disregard for the ethical responsibilities in the Code of Conduct, but egregious and flagrant disregard for serious legislation like the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the Ontario Human Rights Code. Further, that he has not taken responsibility for any of his actions and denied that his actions are inappropriate or problematic. He has contravened the Code of Conduct. Upon finding a breach of the Code of Conduct, Section 220.4 sub 5 of the Municipal Act permits council to levy a penalty of either a reprimand or a suspension or remuneration paid to the member in respect of their services as a member of council for a period of up to 90 days. This is the second Integrity Commissioner inquiry related to the actions of Councillor Lidke, wherein he was found to have contravened the Code of Conduct by acting contrary to provincial legislation. We are most concerned that his behavior must stop. It is destructive to the operation of BLR and is poisoning the work environment for staff and is diverting valuable taxpayer resources from providing appropriate service. We very strongly recommend that council request that Councillor Lidke resign his position on council. It is clear that he does not act properly or appropriately within his role as a councillor. It is our opinion that his behavior will be ongoing and will place BLR and perhaps Councillor Lidke personally at considerable risk of litigation. Alternatively, should council not wish to take such an action, or should Councillor Lidke refuse to resign, council should strictly impose the following: that Councillor Lidke be removed from all boards and committees, not be allowed to communicate with staff directly, that all communications to staff go through an anonymized email address, not be allowed to attend the municipal office or municipal work sites where staff may be, except for retrieving council mail packages, making bill payments, and attending council meetings or otherwise fulfilling his statutory role. Be able to request the restrictions be reviewed in 6 months. We further recommend that council consider conducting a workplace culture audit and prepare a wellness workplace improvement strategy in order to acknowledge the considerable impact on staff and to create a healthier work environment. And then this is my last report, Your Worship and members of council. This one has to do with an allegation that Councillor Lidke contravened the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. On June 21st, 2021, Expertise for Municipalities was, as Integrity Commissioner, received a request for an inquiry with respect to Councillor Lidke, and it was made by an elector under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, and was therefore entitled to make an application for inquiry under Section 223.4.1 of the Municipal Act. The applicant declared that the application was made within 6 weeks of the applicant becoming aware of the alleged contravention. In the application, the applicant alleged that Councillor Lidke contravened Section 5.2 of the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act when he, as a councillor, used his position to promote his personal business and advocate publicly and otherwise that BLR use his business instead of other service providers. More specifically, it was alleged that Councillor Lidke knowingly acted contrary to the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act when he threatened a BLR employee with reprisal if they did not procure his services for vehicle maintenance and excavating. At council meetings, questions decisions of department heads regarding any vehicle service expense and further promoted his own business. Acted in a unilateral way to demonstrate that department heads were unfit, and publicly campaigned that BLR employees were attempting to cover up financial mismanagement. We have conducted an inquiry and we considered whether Councillor Lidkey had a pecuniary interest in vehicle service, maintenance and or other road construction or other related road work matters, which were the subject of invoices considered at council meetings. Whether Councillor Lidkey influenced or attempted to influence municipal officers or employees for the gain of his private business. Whether Councillor Lidkey properly declared his prohibited pecuniary interests, and whether Councillor Lidkey's pecuniary interest was accepted under Section 4 of the MCIA. Whether Councillor used his office to attempt to influence a matter being considered by an officer or employee of the municipality, and whether to make an application to court for a breach of the MCIA. We found that Councillor Lidkey contravened the MCIA. This is the second inquiry related to Councillor Lidkey, and we will also be taking this matter to court. To be clear, this matter and the previous finding of breach will be taken to court with one application only and not two separate applications. And I would like to advise Councillor Lidkey and members of council here this evening that the application was submitted to Pembroke Court this morning, and it should be served in due time. And that is the end of my report.
Okay. Okay. Definitely something to digest, so those reports will be made available to council after the meeting or whenever they need to access. And I guess those will be also posted on the, on the township website.
Deal with this.
And we have to deal with the discipline. So, okay, so if we look at our code of conduct and our discipline, so that decision needs to be made now or at a later date, you said. That's council's wish.
You're asking your worship, your council may choose to make a decision this evening if they wish. They may defer the decision to another meeting. That is council's prerogative.
So what's council's thoughts on the matter before us?
Well, I personally, in my opinion, I think we should just go ahead and make a decision tonight because this has been ongoing for so long already.
So would council need to prepare a resolution in respect to what they wish to recommend as?
That's correct.
Personally.
Hello?
Hello. Here we
Hello,
are.
I'm sorry, I again, it was having trouble with muting and unmuting.
Yeah.
So whatever you vote, may I ask in advance that it be a recorded vote? And whatever this vote may be, clearly, I would declare that pecuniary interest. And is that the last matter on the agenda this evening?
Yes.
Okay, so given, and the reports are complete?
Yes.
Yes.
The presentation of the reports? All right, so I'm declaring my conflict of interest. If whatever discussions you folks are going to have, I'm declaring my a pecuniary interest, that this may result in further court actions or other legal proceedings, other financial costs. So therefore, it is a direct pecuniary interest for me, and I'm going to leave the meeting. I'll file my form, and I'm going to leave the meeting now then.
Okay, that's your choice then. Could we take a short
Thank you.
recess?
Have a good evening, folks.
Okay, so right now I'm going to ask for a short recess. I need to confer with Peggy. So. Okay. It's just.
Everything's still on.
It is. I just paused the recording.
That was John. It's, needs more. It's not this one. I posted this, John. Can you imagine? It's starting to start. That's but it's just amazing. Like I remember it was flowers. That's good. But then they're mass on, they probably put skids and skids and skids, and it's sitting in the warehouse, and then they just sell it. It'd be interesting to take conversation. No shipping. That's. And there's no more. Wow. Where's this? The last, remember when we bought the culverts through? There was seminar, was it?
Yeah, it's a webinar.
A webinar, and I sent it to Tammy, he said, oh, maybe she can take it in. And she was saying that Staples is one of their people they use it. And a box of paper, we ordered from Staples at $63.99. If you order it through us, it's $39.99. So we're gonna be pursuing that supply. That's a lot. That's pretty well half, like, well, it's $23. So how do they?
And a lot of the products is there upwards of 35%, which is terrible.
But see, they would buy skids and skids and skids of it, and then put it in the warehouse, and then and of course they get it cheaper then because they're buying so much. That's right.
Which is the whole point of it.
Yes, yeah.
Back recording. Okay, so thank you for your patience, everybody listening. After reviewing our integrity commissioner, our code of conduct penalties, and then after consideration of what I've heard today, and some of it has been very disturbing, and it affects me very much as mayor of this municipality. And I am requesting that council supports me in what I'm recommending. Removal from any committees that those two councillors are on. A request for a public apology to those employees that have been affected. A trespass order restricting access except for council meetings. An itemized email account and a request for resignation within 10 days from both those councilors. So do I have council support on that? I need a mover on that.
I will.
Councilor Calfa, a seconder. And all in favor, of course,
Yes.
and that's carried. Okay. And we're done. Removal from membership of any committees. A request for public apology to the employees involved. A trespass order restricting access except for council meetings. An itemized email account and a request for resignation within 10 days notice. Okay,
So that's on any municipal property?
yes. So I guess we're down to confirmation by all then. That's it. The reports have been read. Okay, and you want to read them? Or do you-
It's to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of Wednesday, October the 6th, 2021, first and second reading. Third reading bylaw 2021, confirming the proceedings of the regular meeting of Wednesday, October the 6th, 2021, be read a third time and pass.
So we need a mover on that. Counselor?
I will move.
Seconder? I'll second. Counselor Whitby, I'll put. And all in favor?
Yes.
Carried. With that said, there's only one other thing tonight, and that's the adjournment, but this meeting adjourned at 8:04 p.m. Any mover on that? Counselor Rutledge? Seconder? Counselor?
I will.
Cover? All in favor?
Yes.
And that's carried. Meeting adjourned.
I guess we'll have to talk about that, shall we?
Yes.
He's gonna be home, sending kids to work and in somehow.
Keep them all.
He can zoom.